Welcome to my September garden tour of my backyard gardens. It's not just going to be about secret gardens today, it's going to be all about the entire backyard and all the things I have to show you. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in Zone 8B, formerly Zone 8A in southeastern North Carolina. The birds are very active today. Before we jump into my September garden tour of my backyard, I would just like to remind you to please subscribe to my channel so this way my videos continue to show up in your feed. Now, when we talk about garden tours, everything is not perfect in a garden tour. It is just me showing you all the things I currently have. Right now is the month of September. What's looking good, maybe what's looking bad, how the weather has affected things, all the things that go into the life of a gardener, our challenges, and our many successes. I hope that you find some inspiration in my gardens today. Let's get going. Basically, right to the entrance of my secret garden area, poolside gardens, however we like to call it, I just want to point out the vibrant color that is very difficult to miss anyway. Dragon's Breath Celosia here, and the gorgeous vibrant Dipladenia here. Also, just to the front of the Dragon's Breath, we have the purple heart in the ground that keeps coming back for me. That is perennial. These items have that kind of color that you just live for in a fall garden. I talk about these things as some of my favorites, and these are the reasons why. I love color, I love these plants. And I have something over my shoulder that's just delightful to see as well. This potted beauty is one of the gems of my garden. This is the bougainvillea, however you like to say it. This gorgeous baby blooms on and off throughout the course of the year. It is technically a tropical plant that you're going to see thriving in places like Florida and in warmer zones than my Zone 8. However, I was able to successfully overwinter it in the greenhouse this past winter. It bloomed in the greenhouse, and as I said, it blooms sporadically throughout the year. So I can see that I'm entering another bloom time for it, and that just thrills me to no end. So I have the bougainvillea up here, and I have the lemon coral sedum that is in a lot of spots in my yard. That is the draper in that pot. So again, beautiful color just to start us going. As we enter the path to my secret garden, I just wanted to point out another of the Dipladenia. So my yellow Dipladenia, I have to say the yellow are not as prolific bloomers as the red are. Well, it's not that they lack blooms, it's just that it hasn't gotten nearly as large and big and bushy as the red. So those are the only two colors I've had so far, so those are the only ones I've had experience with. I do have a lot of the red, and the red really does fill out beautifully. And this plant was also overwintered, so I just wanted to point that out. Next is my red variegated canna lilies. These leaves are the most gorgeous ones in my opinion because they are so colorful with their variegation. But as I've been honest, for the last couple of months, my canna lilies have really suffered this year. I've had so many problems with the caterpillars eating the leaves and everything. I've had to continually cut these guys back. The color is here, but it wasn't necessarily a humongous success. The next beauties that we get to see that are looking awesome coming this way are more red Dipladenia here. These I planted directly into the ground. I do not expect them to come back, but I just didn't feel like I needed them all to be in pots, so I'll probably dig that up to overwinter. But I also have this dianthus. I have several types of dianthus throughout my garden. Some of them bloom more prolifically throughout the year than others, but these blooms are still looking great. And I planted these very early on in the spring, and they've just been blooming all summer long. And again, here we are starting off fall, and dianthus is still going. I did want to point out that we've just gotten over a huge storm, and things like Dipladenia really do suffer from like that pummeling rain. I did lose a lot of blooms, so you may see flower petals of all sorts of things on the ground here, and that's the reason why. So dianthus, Dipladenia, of course we know about the elephant ears, and then these gorgeous caladiums. The caladiums are just among my favorite flowers or plants, and their stunning foliage made like my top list of foliage plants that you could add into your garden because they're wonderful. Different varieties have different colors and also different sun tolerances, which is awesome. Some of them actually like sun these days. Yay! Even though I've tried to take great care in cutting back a lot of the things in my secret garden that are overtaking my blue boardwalk, things continue to grow and things continue to change. So my banana trees, as they put out new leaves or fronds or whatever, they start coming in this direction as well. I still love it as long as I can maneuver my way down the pathway. It's all good. Let's see what else I have happening beyond the banana tree canopy. So of course we continue heading down this path, and I have my other set of jumbo elephant ears, which are still amazing and gorgeous, and my Bengal tiger canna lilies, still amazing and gorgeous despite the canna lily issue, like I said, for this year. My oleander is blooming beautifully again. I will show you it from the other side so you can see just how many flowers are on it right now, but that is also looking great. And you know, things that I kind of forget along the way sometimes are like these little planters. Back in, I think, the winter when it was still like greenhouse time, I had painted some coffee cans to use them as planters. And you know, they're only meant to be temporary, and I'm gonna toss them out probably shortly. But I have this snake plant in here. I have a little tiny oyster plant in here. The lemon coral sedum, and this is purslane. Can you see the purslane little flower here? Purslane is pretty leggy right now. It actually needs to be chopped off here and so it can flower some more. But this thing I just put together, you know, for a little bit of fun and whimsy over the winter, and it's still looking awesome. So I just wanted to show you that. If we look at the elephant ear side of things from this angle, I right here have a Rose of Sharon, the pink chiffon, and it is looking really kind of wonky. I think it's a combination of heavy wind, heavy rain, all that kind of stuff. It just hadn't really bounced back and stood back up since a previous storm that we had. Not sure what I want to do about that, because this is something I really wanted to get tall and give me height against my fence line. So we're gonna see. I'm thinking I'm still keeping it here, but I'm going to be moving these elephant ears because they all just don't fit beautifully in this space. It's a little crowded, and maybe like the weight of the elephant ear kind of like pushing over here too is helping these guys to not stay up straight so much. So that will be something that I will be doing. I can move the elephant ears really back probably in the early spring because they'll die back, and then I'll just dig up the roots and move the whole thing. So if my Rose of Sharon is right here, looking at this area here, my caladiums are, for the most part, I would say, looking pretty awesome. A little bit of bendaroo also because of the rain and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking a little bit heavy, but that's to be expected and I'm okay with it. I'm loving the color probably on this one the most because it's like that speckled pink on there. Again, I'm planning to overwinter these guys because I'd really love them to be back out my landscape again. And the lemon coral sedum, as I said, was draping out of the pot with the bougainvillea. Also exists in many other spots in my yard throughout because it's such an easy grower for me. So I have the lemon coral sedum up in those groupings right there in the front. Loving all of that. Those things looking pretty good. So from my caladiums here and then on this way, I have a mixed bag of stuff. So I have, again, some canna lilies with some blooms on them, like these gorgeous coral ones that are doing better now than they even did all summer long. Of course, as I said, we've lost a ton of blooms from this weather, so they just get washed off very easily, so they're laying around all over. But those are just the Canova canna lilies. Again, the ones with the variegation are the Bengal tigers. So then I have these. So these again are another example of some cannas that didn't do as well over the summer, but now are bouncing back. So the darkly colored leaves with the red flowers there, all good. Feeling happy about that. I come this direction and you can see this canna really took a beating from the storm, and it's like totally on its side right here. And then let's see what's happening behind me. Moving more or less to the end of the Secret Garden area, we have the Croton Petra. So this guy is not a cold tolerant plant, even though we're seeing it out in all the garden centers for fall time. You will have to bring it inside if you want it to live. This is something I did with this particular plant last year, and I was able to enjoy it again this year. So the Croton Petra is super cool because you have like the awesome colored foliage on it. My husband likes to call it the Avatar plant because he said it reminds him of something you would see in the movie Avatar, and I get that. Really super cool plant. Right here, I have a sago palm. This guy is in a humongous pot because he overwinters for me inside as well. I have tried to leave sago palms out in my landscape for the winter. They didn't come back for me. So whether I didn't give it enough of a chance or what, actually, I'm wrong. This is not the sago. This is a pygmy date palm. Pygmy date palm is this guy. So he's gonna come into my greenhouse with me. And then coming in this direction, here is a second pot of my cordyline and purple hearts, like the one I have right beside my pool that I keep showing in my videos because the electric pink cordyline is just so amazing. The cordyline and the purple heart are both a little bit more tender of plants. They are not going to love the cold temperature dips. So once it starts getting like below 50 degrees, the cordyline, this cordyline that's in a pot is coming inside. I'm, as I've told you before, going to leave some in my landscape this year as a little test just to see if I can get it to live. The purple heart is perennial in my area, so that part of it is fine. But since this one is part of my whole pot arrangement here, that's gonna get moved inside too. Hopefully you all more or less have the lay of my land here. If you don't really understand how my flower beds come together, check out my Instagram account, My Carolina Garden, because I have some drone images that I like to pop up like month by month, just to give you an overview of where all the gardens are. So we're on the other side of the Secret Garden now, right beside my pool. And what I wanted to show you right here is this tropical hibiscus that does have buds on it right now, and more of them right here. This tropical hibiscus, which I forget if it's supposed to be a zone 9 where it's perennial, is my perennial. This was an experiment for me a few years ago. The first year I tried to overwinter it, I babied the heck out of it. So I put on extra layers of mulch over its roots. I actually did the frost blanket over this area, and it worked. It came out fine. So I thought after that, well, I don't want to keep doing that much work. Let me see if it will just live naturally, and it has. After that first year, all has been well. So this is a pink bloomer. Again, we're totally saturated from our storm just having come through. But the only thing I'd like to say, if you are going to try to make a tropical hibiscus perennial for you in a zone like mine, zone 8, realize it is going to be a later bloomer than a tropical hibiscus you will overwinter inside your house and bring out to your landscape. The ones I've overwintered, they kind of start immediately. Weather's warm, they're ready to bloom. This guy really didn't start its buds till August. Well, anyway, down here, this is a Pineapple Express Mangave. First year I've had this, but it's supposed to be perennial for me, so I'm gonna try leaving it in the ground. It was a clearance plant, which is not an excuse. It was almost going to sound like because it was on clearance, it's okay if it dies. I don't want it to die. Just so we know, I'm going to try to leave the mangave out and we're going to see what happens. This is my oleander from the other side. Now the last time we really talked about it, it had all these seed pods on it that look something like this that I had to cut off to make sure that this guy was going to keep flowering. Now look at all the gorgeous buds that I still have on here, all still just beginning, and then the sheer number of blooms as well. I just wanted to show you this area quite quickly, and then we're going to move on from my poolside gardens. But this is the other electric pink cordyline that I recently showed you for some beautiful foliage interest, and the other pot of the purple heart. So you can see I have two identical pots just in slightly different light areas. And then the banana trees, we've talked about it, you know, you get the high winds, your banana tree leaves do shred, then little by little they turn yellow and then turn brown and you need to cut them off. And then you're just waiting for some new growth. Now is a kind of a wonky time for my banana trees because our most prevalent time of year to get like tropical storm winds or even hurricane force winds is going to be like August into late September. So the banana trees have suffered a little bit. The height is still outstanding. This still is very, very tall, and I'm constantly coming out with new leaves or fronds, but it does suffer a bit from that wind, like I said. Here are a few things that I find interesting. So my purple heart that's back here, just kind of coming over my rocks from the back area, again, is perennial for me. Okay, awesome. It's adding some beautiful color. I love it. Then I have this cascading rock sedum. I think that's what it's called. It's just that rosette style sedum, does very well for me. I have it filling in a lot of area, ground cover, climbing up the rock back there, etc. So for the most part, sedums do well for me. However, something I do not have any luck with ever, I've tried digging up parts of it, moving it to other areas to see if it needed more sun, more shade, more what. It doesn't love me. So as we are fully into my rock garden now, there are a few things that I want to show you all right here. First of all is my pink dahlia. Oh my goodness, the dahlia coming out with its September gorgeousness. That just makes you feel happy and thankful that you had the plant growing in your yard and it can put on this show this late in the season. Now this dahlia bloomed for the first time back in the spring, and then it kind of peters out, doesn't look that great during the summer, and now comes back again. But what I would like to say about this dahlia in particular is how gorgeous it looks on its second flush. So it looks as good the second time as it did the first time. That's unusual to me. Now this is the Lanai Twister Pink Verbena. This is a ground cover, yet it's flowering beautifully. I love the multicolored pink tones that are in here. This baby needs a little bit of clipping back at this point, but besides that, I have felt very happy with it because I've had that in here since the spring as well. And the third thing that I want to show you right in this area is the moss again on my awesome boulder. Now this boulder came right here from North Carolina. This was under the ocean at one time, and I actually have somebody that works in the local quarry that was able to get this for me, and that thrills me to no end that it is a part of North Carolina, because in case you don't know, here in coastal North Carolina, we have no rocks. Our soil is sandy. When you dig in the ground, you don't find rocks. This was just under pressure from having been under the ocean at one time. That's how this exists. But it's actually made up of all these small little sea creatures. We have little fossilized seashells in this rock and everything. So a bunch of the rocks that are in my rock garden are actually from that same quarry. So from my awesome pink dahlia with still, ooh, there's a little tree frog. Hello, cutie. I love those little tiny tree frogs. We are going to take a look at my beautiful ladyhead planter. She just has the sedums growing in her. She's been looking great. I see I got a little bit of weeding to do in there. My blanket flowers are completely flopped over from all this massive rain. Understandable. This is more of that purslane that I was talking about that was inside of that other little planter that I have. This is the Sunny Border Blue Speedwell, about to go completely kaput. More of the rock cascading sedum. This is more of that dianthus that was also in a pot that I showed you right at the start of the secret garden. So this one obviously is right in the ground, still looking amazing. And let's just look over here right quick. My little corner area, that's the most shade I pretty much get. This is my camellia. Now ask me, oh no, it's Yuletide. I was gonna say, if I could remember the name, I didn't think I could. This is the Yuletide camellia. It is going to be a fall and winter bloomer. And do you see, I know you can see all the little buds that are all over it. So we have the iridescent foliage on this plant, and then it's a winter bloomer. So like seriously, who doesn't want that? I do. And then this right here is my tropical hibiscus tree that I got on clearance, 75% off, just because it was time to let it go. And you see it's that braided style. So I'm loving this guy. He's looking good. I mean, he's looking good. We still have like new buds on here. He seems to be happy, so I'm happy. Just taking a step further back just so you can understand the rock garden a little bit more. One of the things I added this year was the string party lights, just so I can have that nighttime ambiance. And I did that in my secret garden as well, and I love the way that looks. It's a romantic feel for the evening. Oh, just, I love everything. So more probably string lights are gonna be coming my way. But the other thing I wanted to point out from this distance is the sunshine ligustrum shrub in the back center of that flower bed. That was done very purposefully because the sunshine ligustrum has that like lime green yellow color to it, evergreen. So I put it in there to give it a prominent spot in the rock garden so that there was always going to be color around. The flowers are going to come and go, but having the evergreen in there for that structure, love that. Being directly across the yard from my rock garden right now, I just wanted to point something out. You may have noticed the decorative panels that I have above this flower bed as well as the rock garden. Many people have asked me about those. We got those from Wayfair. They are just meant to be privacy screens, but they come with that cool pattern already in them. And they did have different color pattern choices as well as a couple of different colors. They are made of some sort of like a resin composite, so it's not metal and it's not wood. So I just wanted to mention that because, as I said, I've had a whole lot of people ask me, and then my husband just built the framing that the panel could get put into, so then we could have beauty raising up above our 6-foot fence. Over here in this garden, this huge bush is azaleas, so that of course is the shining star in the spring. But down here, the yellow that you see is the Sunbeckia rudbeckia. Again, I'm loving so many other rudbeckias besides like the plain, like regular black-eyed Susans or whatever, that kind of just really start to look wimpy. I love those. And then the pink that you can see here are straw flowers. Love those too. And recently just talked about the color that I have at the bottom of this flower bed with the purple asters, and the silver you see is the artemisia. So that's kind of what I have going on over here. Not amazing, but not horrible. I also realized that I probably do not point this out nearly enough in my garden tours, but since we've been talking about foliage a lot lately, this is a red spike cordyline that I don't know the name of. It is not anything fancy, but I did just want you to know, as I showed you in my front yard, if you saw that garden tour, this is perennial for me. I leave this guy in my ground, and I always have. It was just the electric pink one that you saw in the pots. That was the only one I hadn't had in my ground previously. But this guy is big, has been with me for a long time, and does produce pups that you can divide up, and that's what you saw in my front yard garden tour. This here is the oleander that I rooted from cuttings. So I'm looking forward to putting that in the ground and having that be part of my landscape. My blue bench is not set up beautifully right now, so that's something I would like to do, some sort of a fall vignette over here. So this is nothing to show off at the moment at all. Over here, this is the Texas Red Star Hibiscus. This is a perennial, and this is, the flower shape is a little bit different than a lot of the other hibiscus that you see. Very, very tall plant. I think this must be, what, 9 feet tall maybe? Very tall. Ah, my illusion dahlia. So we lost some flowers recently, but that's okay because I still have this one to show you. So the illusion dahlia, just something different. A beautiful, vibrant, different style dahlia, and has the dark foliage with the dark stems. Evergreen interest, love having that. Okay, here is yet another kind of dahlia. So this dahlia here is called La Bella Medio. So yet a different style from the other two I've shown you now in my backyard. And look how many flowers it has on it right now, not to mention how many other buds. So I feel also extremely thankful about this. So this area is where we're going to end our tour. I have the 2 zebra grasses that look wild. The wind from our storm really took its toll on these guys, especially him. Oh my gosh, he is all over the place. Now he does get trimmed back for the winter anyway, so maybe that's something I need to do now. I was loving the little plumes, the feathery plumes that come on the grasses, but that's okay. Again, life of a gardener, right? I hope you enjoyed my backyard garden tour for September. We have some great things, some not so great things, but it's all part of our lives and part of seeing how things change month to month. So hopefully there was something that maybe gave you an idea in there. If you did get some sort of idea, let me know what it was. Do you love dahlias? Do you want to try hardy banana trees? I don't know. I do appreciate our gardening community so very much, so I thank you for watching. And until next time, happy planting.